The other story that's, there's a crisis after crisis, and this is the crisis of our generation. I'll say it once again. This is the crisis of our generation, which is the effort to overthrow the President of the United States that began with the spying and targeting of him illicitly during the Clinton campaign or the 2016 elections, and which continued through the first part of the Trump administration through the Mueller Special Counsel. And I guess the Democrats are going to pick up that seditious baton and try to impeach him for no good reason. Now, the news that came out this week are details about the congressional interview. The House interviewed Bruce Ohr, who was until recently the #4 official at the Justice Department. And Bruce Ohr was involved in talking to Christopher Steele repeatedly about his dossier that he was working on behalf of Fusion GPS, who was paid by the Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee. So this dossier, which had, by its own admission, Fusion GPS said they work with Russia intel sources, had false information in there about Donald Trump and his connections to Russia. And really nasty crap too, pardon my language. And it was typical, and it was a typical political document designed to try to destroy the reputation of your political opponent, what the political opposition is. Except the FBI and the DOJ used it as a pretext to spy on President Trump without telling the FISA court details about its origin. So everyone was concerned about Bruce Ohr because he was talking to Christopher Steele, despite the fact that Steele had been labeled persona non grata by the FBI as uncovered by Judicial Watch, and that Bruce Ohr's wife worked for Nellie. Bruce Ohr's wife Nellie Ohr worked for Fusion GPS, so they had that conflict there. So Bruce Ohr comes in and he tells Congress the following, and I'll summarize. So I haven't seen the testimony. I've seen excerpts of it. He said in the summer of 2016, he told those who needed to know in the FBI and the DOJ, senior leadership, that Christopher Steele had the dossier, that he was desperately anti-Trump, it was connected to the Clinton people, and that his wife worked for Fusion GPS. All the key points about the dossier that needed to be disclosed, in my view, to the court. Now, the big lie has been out there is that Ohr was doing this communications with Steele without anyone else really knowing about it, or much later in the game. No, what the point about this was in the summer of 2016, which was several months before the first FISA warrant based on the dossier that we know about targeting Trump was issued by the court in October of 2016. You know, we had worked with Bruce Ohr many years ago. I was even younger then. This was probably in the year 2000, 2001. So this is 18 years ago. I was 32. And Bruce Ohr was head, and still is, head of the Organized Crime Division, I don't know exact title, of the Justice Department. And we had a client who had supported Hillary Clinton. His donations were not disclosed, it looks like. And from what I recall, he had concerns that a business partner of his or someone he was involved in was an informant for the FBI, mobbed up, and he needed to tell the Justice Department about all of this. And Bruce Ohr was one of our key points of contact. So I was in Brazil with Bruce Ohr, and you know, we communicated often about our client. And those disclosures led to the prosecution of Hillary Clinton's campaign finance chair for her Senate campaign. Never resulted in a conviction, but there was a trial in Los Angeles. It's a little known story. The Bruce Ohr was involved in prosecuting Hillary Clinton's top campaign official, finance official. Who knew, huh? Well, now the prosecution was not as aggressive as we would have liked. They didn't want to bring in Hillary Clinton, for instance. So So it's not surprising that Bruce Orr disclosed all of this, because it kind of fits with what I recall about him not being someone you couldn't talk to. I understand he's a deep stater, but everyone, you would have thought that Bruce Orr was the big problem. No, Bruce Orr wasn't the problem. And the people he was telling in the Justice Department about his conflict, he disclosed his conflict, and and what the dossier was really about, the political nature of it. Guess who he told? Andrew Weissman, who's now #2 for Mueller. And another lawyer who's now an official prosecutor for Mueller. So Andrew Weissman, the #2 deputy, the top deputy for Robert Mueller, is implicated in the dossier scandal. And why is it a scandal? Because I told you what Orr told them. This is political. He said that Christopher Steele, this foreign national, former spy supposedly, was desperate not to see Donald Trump elected. Desperate. Yet they used this dossier like it was like some scripture. And they learned this from Orr. You know what they told the court? This is what they told the court. Source #1, who is Steele, who now owns a foreign business financial intelligence firm, was approached by an identified U.S. person who indicated to Source 1 that a U.S.-based law firm had hired, that's Perkins Coie, the Clinton DNC law firm, who disguised their payments to Fusion GPS, by the way, had hired the identified U.S. person to conduct research regarding Candidate 1's ties to Russia. The identified U.S. person and source #1 have a long-standing business relationship. Now, I'm assuming the identified U.S. person is Glenn Simpson or Fusion GPS. The identified U.S. person hired source #1 to conduct this research. The identified U.S. person never advised source 1 as to the motivation behind the research into Candidate 1's ties to Russia. That is false, I guarantee you. And this we know is false. The FBI speculates that the identified U.S. person was likely looking for information that could be used to discredit Candidate 1's campaign. Wait. Speculates? No, the FBI was told that this was a Clinton dossier. Clinton campaign document, a DNC document. They don't have to speculate or guess. They were lying to the court. And they did it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. 4 applications. The initial application, 3 renewals, the 3rd one signed by Rod Rosenstein. This is a further blow to the already low credibility of the FBI and the Justice Department. And it frankly shatters whatever credibility the Mueller operation has, given its involvement of Andrew Weissman and Mueller's reliance continuing on the dossier. What should be done next? Well, now the Democrats are talking impeachment again because of this odd BuzzFeed story that alleges that President Trump, without any details, because there are no details in the story, told Michael Cohen to lie to Congress about his Russia dealings. I don't buy the story. But this is the scandal. That's why that story came out, by the way, I'm convinced, because they were so, they couldn't believe that Bruce Orr stuff came out. Now, Mueller, the big debate is, as I've talked about before, is Mueller writing a report. Mueller, in my view, shouldn't write a report. We already have the corrupt dossier. We don't need Mueller's version of the Clinton dossier. This abuse has got to stop. And if the Justice Department can't, is too institutionally protective of itself in terms of a deep state approach to shut Mueller down, the president should take direct action, either shut it down through executive action or through litigation. That's what I think ought to happen. It is not going to end, because I'm convinced any report by Mueller is going to be an interim report. Now, I understand the other argument, which I can't ignore, and I want to give it to you so you can think about it yourselves. The argument put out there by people like Attorney General Barr. He's not Attorney General. Well, he actually was an Attorney General, so it's right to call him Attorney General, but he's likely to be confirmed. is that, well, we got to let the Mueller job finish his job. That's the only way to solve this. Let him finish it and let the chips fall where they may, and we'll fight over what part of the report comes out. I don't think that's going to happen the way he suggests. I think this investigation is just going to continue, world without end. They may issue a report. It will be an interim report, maybe. I'm just not convinced. And either way, I don't think government abuse should be allowed to continue because that's the easy thing to do. This is abuse of power, abuse of authority. The president is being victimized here. You're being victimized. We pay the president, we vote him into office so he can focus on doing the job a president of the United States should do, not being harassed by Justice Department officials who hate his guts, who are using as a pretext this Clinton material to try to destroy him and spy on him and his team. And then the Democrats are going to try to impeach him. Are they going to they're going to impeach him based on documents that they paid for? Unbelievable. So we're going to stand against it. We've got dozens of lawsuits trying to expose. We exposed these FISA warrant applications that show fraud on the FISA court and abuse of the FISA court. We exposed that the FISA court held no hearings on spy warrants targeting the President of the United States team. We exposed that the Mueller, Comey FBI was paying Christopher Steele at least 11 times in 2016. So while he's working for the Clinton DNC, he's getting money from the FBI. It was a joint operation. We exposed that Steele was cut off by the FBI because they didn't trust him because he was leaking to friendly media to try to destroy Trump. Getting a little heated here, but this is a serious constitutional crisis. We've got a border crisis, and we've got a crisis here in Washington, D.C. And I'm sure there are other crises I could get into and get outraged about as well, but this is serious. The crisis of our generation. And Judicial Watch is going to stand strong on behalf of the rule of law. And we're going to protect the presidency, the president, because it's a constitutional office that's under assault. And we think our republic needs to be protected. So that's why we talk the way we do about this issue.